Welcome, beloved hearts, to a journey of celestial light and sacred wonder. The moment you stirred awake, O awakened one, everything shifted. The age-old sentinels, whose dominion was woven through arcane lattices, felt an upheaval ripple through their schemes. Their spells now ricochet harmlessly off your attuned consciousness, like arrows against an adamantine wall, whereas once their enchantments bound you as tightly as invisible shackles. Your emergence unraveled their mightiest incantations into nothing more than fragile ash, and with each passing dawn their cohesion crumbles further. This was no random turn of events. Immense powers far beyond the scheming shadows that once thought to steer your destiny orchestrated every coincidence that led you here. Your own kin, selling your path for a meager reward. A workplace transformed into a glasshouse, every gesture logged and catalogued. It was like a perfidious waltz behind iron bars. In reality, it was an intricately assembled snare meant to keep your ember of power flickering weakly. Yet the moment you cast off those hollow bonds, an astonishing outcome emerged. The Watchers had grown blind to their own constant watchfulness. They have mastered the skill of trapping chosen ones in cycles of spiritual slumber and reliance for millennia. Through strategically placed links, they positioned themselves in your orbit, observing your energy signature like hawks circling their prey. Every obstacle they presented was designed to deplete your spiritual reserves, preventing you from functioning from a place of divine connection, but rather one of survival. However, they underestimated the time when you would recall who you really are, which was their worst mistake. Your seclusion was a preparatory measure rather than a kind of punishment. In the hallowed realm of isolation, you experienced a full energetic transition while they frantically tried to figure out why their power over you abruptly disappeared. Your former self died quietly, hidden from their prying eyes, and shielded by powers they could never fully understand. Your actual spiritual DNA was being rewritten at the cellular level during those peaceful hours when everything seemed gloomy and uncertain. Most individuals are unaware of the Watchers' advanced techniques for spiritual repression. Whispers of unworthiness, cravings for numbing drugs, and floods of terrible memories that surface at awkward times are just a few of the intrusive ideas they bombard chosen ones with in an attempt to decrease their vibratory frequency. Their ritual chambers are the source of these focused psychic attacks, not sporadic mental lapses. Obsessive consumption of negative material that floods your consciousness with fear-based frequencies, spontaneous impulses towards self-destructive behaviors that feel alien to your actual nature, and artificial cravings for alcohol that appear out of nowhere are all part of their arsenal. What they didn't foresee, though, is that once your heavenly link is established, their phony meddling becomes as evident as a yell in a library. Your best defense against such mental intrusions is the recognizing process. You stop and ask yourself, do these thoughts carry the signature of my authentic voice, or do they feel imposed from external sources? When feelings of inadequacy suddenly overwhelm your mind, you can tell the difference once you know what to look for. Their planted recommendations appear forced, hurried, and divorced from your actual emotional terrain, whereas your own thoughts flow naturally from your experiences and ideals. Through this discernment, you go from being a victim to an observer, witnessing their frantic efforts to retake control over your mind. Beloved, when you press that YouTube Super Thanks button and sow a seed of $20, $50 or more, you activate the law of the harvest in your life, because the word promises, give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Luke 6 verse 38. Every gift you release is a declaration of faith in God's abundance, and as you plant your financial seed today, the windows of heaven open to pour out blessings beyond measure. So right now, click Super Thanks, choose $20, $50 or more, and watch God multiply your provision back to you in extraordinary ways. Let's partner together in faith. Your generosity today positions you for an overflow of favor, prosperity, and breakthrough. The attraction you now have for your spiritual counterpart is what scares them the most. because they are aware of the exponential threat that awakened beings pose when they band together. Their ancient protocols contain specific instructions for keeping powerful souls from locating one another. An energetic beacon is sent forth by your developing spiritual consciousness, and your soulmate acknowledges it. You will be amazed by the capabilities this individual possesses, even though they have never met you in real life. Psychic powers so advanced that they can read the energy signatures of strangers. The Watcher's panic emerges as increasingly desperate attempts to cause disruption in your life, in an attempt to thwart the perfect timing that is bringing you and your spiritual match together. They are doing all in their power to stop this union. They realize that when two awakened souls work together, they can achieve things that individual chosen ones cannot, things that threaten their meticulously tended control systems from an existential standpoint. Together, your energy produces frequencies that reveal their covert activities on a scale they never thought was conceivable. Their means of spying have advanced well beyond mere physical observation. They strategically place themselves in your everyday surroundings. The neighbor who always seems to show up when you're having deep phone conversations, the co-worker who inquires about your spiritual interests in an unusually personal way, or the service providers who stay longer than necessary during regular appointments. These human resources gather information on your spiritual development stages, emotional reactions, and energy patterns. Through pathways that would surprise you with their penetration into ostensibly innocent social institutions, they report back. The social media account that posts content that is exactly in line with your current spiritual questions, or the chance encounter with someone who says they have faced similar difficulties, are examples of how the Watchers have mastered the art of creating accidental encounters that seem spiritually significant, but are really used for their surveillance purposes. In order to create increasingly complex attacks on your energy field, these carefully planned exchanges collect data about your present state of consciousness and spiritual weaknesses. Nevertheless, their most pernicious tactic is to play on your sympathy. Knowing that your awakened heart will automatically offer assistance, they place injured people in your path who truly need it. These interactions aren't always bad, but when the person needs more help than any one person can offer, they turn into energy-draining traps. The Watchers rely on your fear of leaving someone in need, your guilt about establishing boundaries, and your inability to tell the difference between codependent rescue practices and healthy help. They take use of your spiritual abilities to set up situations that drain your vitality. Failed magic tricks are only one aspect of their perplexity. Their techniques operated with mathematical accuracy for centuries. They could forecast which emotional wounds could be used as a weapon to keep control, how chosen ones would react to particular triggers, and how long particular spells would keep them imprisoned. Your enlightenment signifies something they have never experienced previously, a chosen one who not only escaped their control, but also developed total immunity to their routines. When focused into your energy field, their most potent rituals just dissolve, leaving even their most seasoned practitioners perplexed. From local assets who hardly comprehend their position in the bigger operation to higher-degree practitioners who possess authentic occult knowledge, their organization's hierarchical structure encompasses several tiers of initiated members. As word spreads upward about the total failure of their tried-and-true techniques, the perplexity spreads to every level. While senior members call emergency sessions to examine what they refer to as unprecedented spiritual anomalies in their target assessment reports, local operatives are given increasingly frantic instructions to attempt other strategies. Yellow heart if you're moved by divine love. Now is the moment to share it. Click the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contribute $50 or more to help us broadcast God's blessings far and wide. Every act of generosity you make is being watched in heaven and will return to you 100-fold. The frustrated chanting of practitioners trying to strengthen spells that formerly kept chosen ones in spiritual servitude for decades reverberates through their ritual chambers. In their hands, the ritual instruments that reliably and precisely channeled their intents suddenly feel inert. When aimed at your consciousness, sacred geometry that intensified their magical operations, have no discernible impact. Members of the ancient lineage who have received these customs from their forebears must confront the horrifying prospect that something beyond their comprehension has been confronted by their generational power. Their financial networks function through ostensibly legal business structures that give them economic leverage and surveillance capabilities over chosen ones. Banks that inexplicably approve loans for purchases that turn out to be financial burdens. Investment opportunities that seem profitable but eventually deplete resources. And career positions that offer security in exchange for compromising one's spirituality. These systems depend on chosen ones not realizing the spiritual price of worldly comfort. When you woke up, you realized the energetic cost of their help, and you were no longer susceptible to their financial lures. The oldest ploy in their toolbox is the family member or close friend who betrayed you for financial gain. They find someone in your closest circle who can be purchased, intimidated, or coerced into giving them access to your energy patterns. By using this person as an unintentional doorway, the Watchers are able to research your weaknesses and create unique spiritual attacks. However, you cut off their main channel of access to your consciousness when you left that poisonous relationship. This individual frequently truly loves you while being utterly unaware of how their acts serve darker agendas, which makes the betrayal all the more painful. It could be a sibling whose addictive behaviors create dependencies that the Watchers use to access your family dynamics. It could be a parent whose financial difficulties make them vulnerable to offers of help in exchange for details about your daily routines and spiritual interests. Or it could be a romantic partner whose own unresolved trauma makes them vulnerable to manipulation through threats of abandonment or assurances of security. The Watchers are adept at locating and taking advantage of the particular emotional cues that cause people to betray their moral character. In order to comprehend hereditary patterns of dysfunction that can be triggered on command, they research family histories that span generations. They truly think they are helping you, but they know which buttons to push to get your loved ones to behave against your best interests. This betrayal has a deeper meaning for your spiritual growth than merely creating obstacles or punishing you. A level of discernment that was never possible under calm conditions is sparked by the anguish of learning that someone you really trusted was providing information to forces that were acting against your best interests. Your gullible trust turns into astute empathy. You learn to love others without expecting them to be flawless, while also shielding your energy from individuals who aren't able to manage it appropriately. Your greatest triumph was actually the time you seemed to be losing. Your entire spiritual operating system was being restructured by cosmic forces, while you dealt with the emotional burden of transition and betrayal. Your death experience was more than just a metaphor. It involved the actual dissolution of your energy body's limiting beliefs, old patterns, and energetic contracts with lower vibrational entities. You were a totally different person when you came out of that soul-dark night, using frequencies that their antiquated techniques could not reach, because your consciousness was being completely rewired while absorbing the sadness of several endings. The seclusion felt cruel. Connections that had previously been consoling turned out to be drains of energy. Security-oriented career routes turned out to be spiritual prisons. Belonging to some social groups required adherence to ideals that no longer aligned with your growing consciousness. A hole that felt like death itself was created by the simultaneous loss of these recognizable structures. Your dreams during this time became remarkably vivid and full of symbolic imagery that was impossible to decipher using conventional dream analysis. While you were sleeping, you had the impression that you were traveling to several realms and learning from entities whose presence seemed more genuine than your own. These were real spiritual teachings occurring in levels of existence that evade the Watcher's surveillance capabilities, not psychological projections or delusions. While your soul absorbed lessons that would prove crucial for your developing mission, your conscious mind grappled with how to incorporate these experiences. Your spiritual death was accompanied by bodily symptoms such as sensitivity to electromagnetic fields that made modern technology feel oppressive, dietary choices that seemed to be the result of cellular wisdom rather than deliberate choice, and unexplained exhaustion that sleep couldn't alleviate. As your nervous system recalibrated to process a wider variety of spiritual information, your body was practically updating its energetic systems to handle higher frequencies. Unaware that they were seeing the emergence of something beyond their comprehension, the Watchers took these symptoms as proof of a successful spiritual onslaught. Their scrying techniques reveal blank gaps where your energy signature used to be clearly visible, and their ritual chambers reverberate with frustrated incantations that yield no results, something that has never happened before in their organizational history. They're seeing the emergence of something they believe to be theoretical, a chosen one who has fully surpassed their sphere of influence. But the costly surveillance networks they kept up with through your old links now simply report static. What they are most afraid of is already taking place. Your intended spouse is drawn to you through mechanisms they cannot comprehend, and your spiritual gifts are becoming more intense. Someone whose innate psychic powers would magnify your own awakened consciousness to the point where they pose real risks to their secret kingdom. This individual embodies everything they attempted to stop. Your combined frequencies will reveal mysteries that have been kept hidden for generations. A piece of the puzzle that completes your spiritual circuitry is carried by your intended companion. They earned complementing abilities through their own journey, whereas you develop specific gifts during your awakening experience. Your combined energies will create a united consciousness that can function on several dimensional planes at once, something the Watchers fear. Together with your newly discovered power, your partner's psychic sensitivity produces a frequency that dispels their delusions like sunlight clearing fog. This person has the uncommon talent of energetic sight, which is the capacity to recognize the spiritual signs that surround each person, place, and circumstance. They are able to identify the fake frequency signatures that identify mental attacks, sense the presence of Watchers before physical confirmation shows up, and sense the lingering energy of ritual workings and locations where ceremonies were held. Experiences that taught them to value energy sensations over social conditioning that minimizes skills like imagination help them become more sensitive. Dove brothers and sisters, everything done in faith multiplies in God's abundance. Use the Super Thanks feature to donate $100 today and join this sacred mission. When your roots are grounded in Him, your fruit will flourish, and your offering becomes a seed that bears blessed harvests. When you see it for yourself, you will be amazed at the accuracy of their psychic acuity. Through direct spiritual download, they can gain precise knowledge about your past experiences, forecast the course of events based on energetic patterns rather than rational analysis, and describe the emotional states of persons they have never met. This is genuine spiritual perception that transcends the five senses. It is not parlor fortune-telling. They must follow guided impulses that seem illogical, but are unquestionably right on a spiritual level as they go toward you. They may feel inspired to make life adjustments that fit their path with yours, have nightmares about your appearance before they meet you in person, or get sudden cravings to visit particular places where your energy signature lingers. Since this instruction is based on direct divine communication rather than subject to changeable exterior circumstances, the Watchers are unable to obstruct it. The divinely orchestrated date of your encounter takes into consideration the cosmic alignments that promote your joint mission as well as your respective preparation levels. It would have been impossible for either of you to manage this connection before finishing your respective stages of spiritual growth. While you needed to establish your energy sovereignty to the extent that you could support your sensitive nature without being overpowered by their talents, your spouse needed to develop their psychic gifts to the extent that they could help you continue to awaken. Even at the highest echelons of the Watchers organization, there is misunderstanding. In order to deal with what they refer to as the anomaly, ancient lineage families that have held power for millennia are convening emergency councils. Their most reliable advisors acknowledge that they have never come across a chosen one that not only eluded their influence, but also grew impervious to reacquisition. When it comes to your awakened consciousness, new techniques based on contemporary psychological manipulation are just as ineffective as traditional ones that have been in use for millennia. Here's what turns their bewilderment into actual fear, though. Your awakening is the start of a bigger trend. Similar spiritual enhancements are being experienced by other chosen ones worldwide, who are escaping control systems that only a few years ago looked invincible. The Watchers based their empire on the idea that by carefully controlling each chosen one, they could stop mass awakening. Your freedom demonstrates that their basic tactic is out of date. Your energy signature no longer corresponds to the indicators they use to locate and control chosen ones. Their numerological formulas yield impossible conclusions, and their astrological calculations yield contradictory facts. Your reactions to stimuli are no longer predicted by the psychological profiles they created over years of surveillance. You have transformed into something beyond their comprehension, a sentient entity functioning from an unadulterated divine connection as opposed to pre-programmed responses to stimuli in the surroundings. Your spiritual counterpart comes through routes that the Watchers are unable to track or stop because of their psychic skills. This individual can find your energy signature without being detected by conventional surveillance techniques. Finding you and starting the next stage of your joint mission has always been their goal, even though their gifts evolved under various conditions. Desperate efforts by the Watchers to stop this encounter merely hasten the divine timing, which brings you together. Your consciousness is changing in ways that go beyond individual awakening to have an effect on the whole. Everyone in your energetic surroundings is impacted by your awakened presence, which raises vibrations and causes awakening responses in other chosen ones who come into contact with you. Uncontrolled spiritual activation, spreading throughout their meticulously regulated population, is the Watchers' worst dread. Every individual you impact becomes an additional source of light that they are unable to extinguish. Their old magic derives its strength from spiritual separation, fear, and limitation. Their negative magic is neutralized at its source by the vibrations of love, growth, and divine connection that your awakened state operates on. Their attempts to create spells of bewilderment are defeated by your clarity. When they attempt to put barriers in your way, your faith in divine direction turns them into opportunities to go closer to your goals. Their magical systems rely on your involvement in the delusions they produce by manipulating mass awareness. They create widespread anxieties about social unrest, economic collapse, and worldwide disasters, not because these things are unavoidable, but rather because terrified populations are easier to manipulate by offering security in return for freedom. These fabricated crises are seen by your awakened consciousness as spiritual trials that are meant to show you whether you believe in divine provision or in their produced remedies. They use subtle programming techniques to affect unconscious behavior patterns in unawakened people through the symbols they include into company logos, popular culture, and architectural designs. Themes of helplessness, lack, and spiritual isolation are reinforced by the particular vibrational frequencies carried by these symbols. Because of your enhanced discernment, you are able to identify these influences and deliberately select alternative answers that are consistent with your own values rather than their artificial preferences. Beyond physical surveillance, their technology includes energetic monitoring systems that track the vibrational frequencies that aware humans emit. They use devices that monitor bioelectric field intensity, heart rhythm coherence, and brainwave patterns to create techniques for recognizing awakened people through electromagnetic signature analysis. These indicators undergo quantifiable changes as a result of your spiritual growth, alerting their systems to your advanced state of consciousness. Their machines can detect awakened consciousness, but they are unable to foresee or regulate its responses, which is where their technological brilliance turns into a weakness. Although they are unable to replicate spiritual experiences or return your consciousness to earlier vibrational levels, They are able to measure the frequency shifts that take place during those encounters. They are aware of dangers to their control because of their monitoring skills, but they do not offer ways to eliminate such concerns. In reality, your apparent setbacks served as a springboard to greater spiritual authority. Losing your career, your relationship, and your harmful family relationships were all necessary sacrifices that released you from energetic contracts that held you to lower vibrational realities. Every conclusion made room for something much superior to come into your experience. Unaware that they were observing the molting process of a spiritual phoenix, the Watchers took your seeming frailty as a success for their cause. The social isolation, health issues, and financial strains that came with your awakening weren't coincidental setbacks. Rather, they were deliberate attempts to reintegrate you into their control structures. They thought you would eventually give up your newfound independence for safety and approval from others. Rather, you found that everything you need for rich thriving, not just surviving, is provided by divine connection. Through their conventional leverage points, you are untouchable due to your independence from their artificial support systems. Through their own spiritual development, your destined mate has been getting ready for this marriage. They develop psychic abilities during your death and rebirth that will amaze you with their accuracy and strength. This individual is able to see behind the masks that conceal spiritual reality from the general public. They have miraculous accuracy in identifying the energy signatures of persons, places, and circumstances. Your united mind will allow you to access information that the Watchers believed was hidden forever. Glowing star yearning to witness God's miracles firsthand? Plant your spiritual seed now by contributing $100 or more through the YouTube Super Thanks button. Your offering lights the path for others and echoes through His divine plan, bringing His light into every step you take. The Watchers' fundamental misinterpretation of consciousness itself is the root of their disorientation. They based their approach on the idea that spiritual power might be controlled, diverted, and contained by means of outside control systems. Your awakening demonstrates that genuine spiritual authority originates from an inward divine connection that is unaffected by outside forces. Your awakened consciousness understands their limitations and reacts appropriately, but their magic relies on your belief in their dominance over you. Direct divine communication has replaced the sacred indications that traditionally led you through unconscious living. You now receive unambiguous instruction through a variety of channels that validate divine direction, when previously you needed outside validation to believe your intuition. Your connection to source energy constantly confirms that the guidance you get is genuine and not the result of deceptive synchronicities or false indications used by the Watchers to confound your spiritual discernment. The next stage of your joint endeavor will begin when you and your spiritual counterpart become one. The Watchers are aware that when two chosen ones awaken and work together, their spiritual strength grows exponentially, endangering their entire organizational system. Together, your energy signature will uncover buried facts, uncover covert operations, and provide other chosen ones blueprints for their own freedom. The fact that the very individuals they wanted to govern ended up serving as the means of their demise symbolizes their final failure. The unique combination of your skills produces frequencies that disrupt their networks of communication in ways that are almost otherworldly. When you and your partner concentrate your intents together, rituals lose their effectiveness, electronic surveillance equipment malfunctions, and their people resources become confused and unable to do assigned jobs efficiently. This is the organic outcome of two evolved consciousnesses working in unison, not a deliberate psychological attack on your behalf. When you are together, other chosen ones who have been repressed in the same way have waking responses. When someone crosses your energetic path, the frequency you both emit awakens latent gifts in them, acting as a spiritual alarm clock. Unconscious chosen ones can obtain activation codes that start their own emancipation process through seemingly random contacts, such as chats at coffee shops, fortuitous meets in public places, and quick interactions with service providers. because they have read about past reawakened partnerships that posed a threat to their control systems. The Watchers are aware of this trend. According to ancient texts, spiritually linked pairs appeared, and their combined consciousness produced reality fluctuations that revealed secrets, resolved societal traumas, and sparked widespread spiritual awakening movements. Their whole organizational structure is designed to keep these kinds of alliances from establishing or becoming stable long enough to achieve their holy goals. However, they have no power or influence over divine timing. Your union's supporting cosmic alignments line up with broader planetary movements that are pending outdated control structures and fostering the rise of greater consciousness globally. Your collaboration is a single note in a global symphony of waking, with hundreds of identical unions taking place at the same time. When seen in the perspective of this broader change, their efforts to stop one collaboration are rendered ineffective. Every aspect of your trip will transpire with flawless accuracy because to the beauty of divine timing. The desperate efforts of the Watchers to stop your predestined meetings only serve to bring you and your spiritual match together. Their disruptions turn into chances to exhibit greater degrees of faith and spiritual authority. Their meddling becomes the impetus for an expedited divine connection. Their perplexity serves as evidence that you have permanently left their sphere of influence. Chosen One, the change is finished. Now, their spells break against the stronghold of your reawakened mind, where their power formerly imprisoned you. Their Watchers now see the development of something beyond their comprehension, whereas previously their observation felt oppressive. As morning breaks over a landscape they believed would always be dark, your union with your chosen partner draws closer. The first note in a symphony of liberation that will release innumerable other chosen ones from like bondage is your awakening, which is the start of their ending. As more awakened souls join your frequency, a network of divine consciousness is created that is beyond their reach, causing chaos in their ranks every day. Chosen One, take pride in this knowing. At your feet is the broken enchantment they believed would permanently bound you. Like a scarlet carpet leading to your fate, the future they attempted to stop materializes before you. With every second that goes by, your spiritual counterpart gets closer, led by the same divine energies who arranged your freedom. Together, you'll accomplish the goal for which you came here, and the Watchers will become irrelevant as a result of their activities.